We're at the end of a crazy week in the NBA. The Wizards fired their coach. The Bucks fired their coach. The Wolves blew a game where their players scored 62 points. The Heat finally made a trade for Terry Rozier. I mean, let's just get into foul trouble.
Let's get into foul trouble. I feel like we're fouled out right now.
I know. Embiid scored 70. I didn't even say it. This week has been crazy. A lot of these things happened like a couple hours after our other pod dropped. So it feels like they happened like weeks ago.
I know it's just been it hasn't even been a full week. It's been 3 days and we just keep getting inundated with story after story. The freaking Wizards fired their coach this morning. Kind of fired. He's now in the front office.
Your Suns finally get a nice win over the Mavs,
Oh
like in a game where Luka, doesn't look the best, the fan thing, and that's not even a top 10 story this week.
I know. I'm dying to talk about it, but we literally do not have place in the rundown to talk about this. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start in Miami? Do you want to start in Milwaukee? Where do you want to start with?
I think we should start in Milwaukee.
Absolutely.
All right, so the Bucks fired their coach, Adrian Griffin, despite being the 3 seed in the conference. They followed that up with a 126-116 win over the Cavaliers, who've been pretty hot lately, and they just hired Doc Rivers on a $3.5, $40 million deal.
Yeah, that just dropped this morning. What was your first reaction when you saw the Milwaukee Bucks have parted ways with Adrian Griffin?
Oh, I mean, I thought it was coming.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was coming. This season had a very David Blatty feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. And they have such a great record right now, but the vibes were just kind of rotten from even the preseason.
But it's weird, though, because the vibes between the players have seemed pretty good. Like the Giannis Dame, for everything else, seems like they like playing with each other.
Yes.
Or the early returns.
Yeah, it seems like they like playing with each other, and this has really been the best offense that we've ever seen a Giannis-led team have, which has been really impressive on that side of the ball, but it's definitely been by far the worst defense that we've ever seen from a Giannis-led Bucks team.
So how do you feel about Doc, though? Because I'm kind of out on Doc as like a championship.
Here's my thing,
coach.
You don't have the right to complain about not having a top 10 coach in the league when you have a superstar, a mega superstar like you have in Giannis that has won you a chip. He's been a finals MVP. You go out, you get Damian Lillard. I can't imagine a more win now team than the Milwaukee Bucks. And you kind of set the table for that by hiring a first-time head coach. Once you do that, you've made your bed. And kudos to the Bucks for being willing to change on that, even though they've been relatively successful in the win column. But there's no better option. Right now on the market, I don't see where the better place to go would be than Doc Rivers. And at least it's a guy who, the one good thing you can say about Doc is, for the most part, take James Harden out of this situation. He's a guy that, at least from what I've seen, his players always respect him. And his players always, for the most part, like playing for him until he blows a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time trying to find this, but I could not find the article. I searched through many Google pages. So if anyone listening to this Foul Trouble podcast knows, last year at the beginning of the season for the Sixers, they were looking really good with Harden and Embiid, and an anonymous Sixers player told the media, "We're not going to win the championship because of Doc." Ooh. And I want to find that quote. I don't want to misquote it, but having watched like the Clippers collapse, like Doc, like that Nuggets series in the bubble, like why is Harrell playing so many minutes when he cannot guard Jokic and he's not giving you that much on offense? Like in the Sixers series, like really, that's all we have is this like kind of weird Harden and Embiid pick and roll. Like last year, the whole big adjustment was like, oh, we're gonna put Embiid at the foul line so he can read the defense and not turn the ball over as much. And the Sixers' clutch offense was still kind of a disaster. And it's looked so much better under Nurse. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like Harden's doing pretty good in Clipperland right now. Like it's kind of weird you've been blaming Harden. There's also that thing where Doc was like, Well, after the All-Star break, James Harden stopped playing team basketball and he started playing me basketball. And I saw a Reddit user was like, James Harden's field goal attempts per games didn't change post and pre All-Star break.
That is an insane
I
stat.
feel like Doc is like, I don't want to say Doc's a bad coach, but at the same time, like, yes, he's getting the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 3 seed quite a bit over the last decade. But look at the rosters, man.
Yeah.
Look at these rosters. I mean, he's got Lob City Clippers, one of the best rosters of the mid-2010s. The Clippers later in that year, like one of the best rosters then. Then he gets the Sixers, who have Joel freaking Embiid. And
Look at what he's doing right now.
Yeah, the first year they had Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was like a legitimate DPOY candidate. And then they get Harden. So it's like, I feel like there's more evidence he's hamstringing really, really good rosters in the playoffs than he is lifting them up. Having said all that, I'm with you in that right now the Bucks are 21st in defensive rating. They're coming in at around like 117, 118 points per 100. The Nuggets last year and this year are at 114.6, which was 17th last year, 11th this year. I think Doc can get them to that.
Absolutely. I think they're a major candidate to jump up into the top 10 for the rest of this season from a defensive rating standpoint. And the one thing that I was dipping into the numbers a little bit, and I was really surprised from what Giannis is averaging right now. This is the first year since 2016, 2017, very, very early on in the Giannis experience for the Bucks, that the Bucks were not top 10 in transition frequency. First time since 2016, 2017 that they weren't top 10. Right now they're 21st in transition offense frequency. You've got maybe the best transition offense player of all time. That should be a relatively easy switch for Doc to kind of tinker with there. Also, their transition defense has been really, really bad as well. If you can tighten up the screws there, you're never going to get amazing, like, in-series adjustments out of Doc. I think the kind of playbook is laid bare there. But there's little tweaks that if you make them and you're Doc, you can just drastically raise the ceiling on an already very successful team.
Yeah, and I think this like kind of goes back because we've had a couple pods like what's going on with the Bucks defense? And the one thing, because I feel like there's been a lot of like, well, they switched out Drew for Dame. And it's like, I feel like switching out the point guard should not collapse the entire defense, especially when I'm watching the games. And like, yes, Dame's bad on defense, but it's not for lack of trying. So I do think like switching up the coach, bringing in Doc is really going to like stabilize this team. I'm just worried what it looks like when this team gets into a 7-game series versus Nick Nurse or Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Like I've already seen both of those guys kind of, well, not Nurse, but like I've seen Spoelstra coach circles around Doc.
Yeah, I mean, you go down the list of the coaches in the Eastern Conference. So Joe Maz, I don't know.
I'll take Doc.
Like, I'll probably take Doc as well. But after that, you've got Nick Nurse.
I'll take Nick.
JB Bickerstaff, you'd probably go with Doc. He's been a lot better this season.
Yeah, I didn't watch enough of that Cavs-Knicks series, to be honest, to really like comment on JB, but he's, I don't know.
Those are the two names on the top of the East that you're kind of thinking about taking Doc. And then Thibodeau, I'd rather take Tibbs, to be honest, than Doc.
I'll take Tibbs.
Spoelstra.
Definitely Spo.
Rick Carlisle. I'd
probably Carlisle.
Definitely take
Carlisle.
Carlisle. And then you're getting down to the teams where it really doesn't matter so much. Jamal Mosley, Billy Donovan, Quinn Snyder.
Yeah, I think like Carlisle versus Doc is like a really interesting one because like that's like the thing with like coaching in the NBA, right? Like so many times we can analyze like when did they use their timeouts? But like behind the scenes, right? It's like I think me and you would both say Rick Carlisle is more of a tactician, somebody that if a series were to be a longer series, I think I'd rather have Carlisle. But I think if you told me like Doc and Carlisle's team played and one team 1-5, I'd probably lean toward Doc's team because it's almost like players seem to like playing for Doc a bit more than playing for Carlisle. So it's like for a coach like Carlisle, you can only get the most out of him with a certain type of roster.
Yeah. And I mean,
and it seems like he has that in Indy to his credit.
Absolutely. Yeah. He has been able to really structure his system for the guys he has. But one other thing that we haven't talked about at all is Shams reported that Doc has been serving as this informal consultant for the Bucks since December. So he's been around the situation at least. So he's not coming in completely cold, just watching their games in the ESPN telecast. So I guess there's that. And it kind of raises questions of like, did Doc do a little nudging?
Yeah, I guess my one change, and I don't know if he's up for it because we talked about this off the pod. So right now, D'Antoni is like an assistant advisor to the Pelicans. Mm-hmm. Man, I'd way rather have Mike D'Antoni than Doc Rivers as my coach.
Hey.
Like, it's not D'Antoni's fault they missed 27 threes in a row. Like, those Rockets teams were playing pretty damn good defense at the peak of their powers. Like, I don't know, man. I'm still kind of all in on D'Antoni as being an elite NBA coach. I don't really care that he hasn't won a chip yet. Like,
best coach in Suns history right there. That's my guy, dude.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just, if I'm like, I'm one of those guys and it's like, you know what? Like, this is going to make Dame probably hit a whole nother level playing under D'Antoni. And, like, they'll play faster. To your point about the transition offense, like, they'll get out, they'll get running, they'll get Giannis in space more. Like, I don't know if that was an option, so I don't want to lambaste them for not going that way, but that's where I would have gone.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you is, like, what is the perfect place? What are the alternatives? Yeah, Mike D'Antoni's 72, and I think at this point, he hasn't been in one of those like lead roles since his short stint as an assistant for Steve Nash in Brooklyn. So I'm guessing that he's probably just at the place in his career where he doesn't want to be the head coach of an NBA team, which I totally get it. Yeah.
I think there's a part of Harden that leaves Brooklyn because he's like, why is he the head coach and why is he the assistant coach?
Probably. Damn.
Popovich is 74 for the record. So,
well, we have talked a lot about what Popovich's
shortcomings are. Wait, how old is D'Antoni right now?
72.
72, yeah. So.
Okay, so he's got 2 years
73.
in him. Or I guess he has 1 year in him. 74 is now the cutoff. You can no longer be an NBA coach.
I like that Doc is a Marquette guy. That's cool, getting back into the like Wisconsin area. As far as other options for coaches, I thought the Kenny Atkinson name was pretty interesting. He's the lead of assistant in Golden State. Seems like he's kind of pegged to be the next guy that after Steve Kerr. So I understand why he wouldn't want to go there. I mean, the one name that I knew was not going to happen, which I would have loved to see just for the theater of it all, and I think he's a great coach, is just them crawling on their knees back to Bud.
Oh, yeah. Well, is there like a weird, I don't want to go too down this rabbit hole. We have too much to talk about, but a fun hypothetical, some sort of weird world where the Lakers are like, you want Darvin Ham back?
Yeah.
And the Bucks are like, oh, yeah, over Griffin? Yeah, we'll do that. I don't know. Like,
I wanted them to throw a second-round pick at Monty. Monty Williams, they just need a guy to bring together the locker room. That's the only thing Monty Williams does.
I would be so upset if I was a Bucks fan and that happened. All right, let's get to the Wizards. They fired Wes Unseld Jr. They brought on Brian Keefe, one of their assistant coaches, to be their coach the rest of the season. I feel like we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, just to alert everyone that the second worst team in the league that might be jockeying to be the worst team after the trade deadline, switch coaches. And,
he had a 37% winning percentage in his time in Washington. Definitely not an easy job to succeed in, especially over the course of time that he's been there. But for the most, I'm like, why do it now?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, as much as like a lot of us in the quote media, I don't know if we count as the media, are like, teams should tank. Like, it's not easy working in an NBA front office and being like, bro, we suck.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not gonna say I like watched so many Wizards games that I'm an expert on how good or bad Wes Unseld is, but it's one of those things where it's like your highest paid player is the player who has like the worst plus minus on your team in Jordan Poole, and it's like whenever that's like the dynamic of your roster salary cap situation, like, it's tough, especially when that guy's not like an old veteran who's overpaid as a result of like getting injured. Like, Jordan Poole is just bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's the worst that he's been since he really like came onto the NBA scene as a real player. And I mean, we can just like go down this roster. Who has like gotten better as a player in their time under Wes Unseld Jr.? Kyle Kuzma, maybe.
Same guy.
Pretty much the same guy. And then, Corey Kispert, he's been okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's really improved on his draft stock very much. Denny's been okay. Hasn't really like solidified him. Like, I think if they tried to trade him, they get a first round pick? I don't know.
Personally, I don't love speculating on like how much should he elevate these guys, because like there's always the reality like some of these guys might just suck.
Yeah.
Like there's a chance that Denny Advia is just like never going to be a good enough athlete to be a productive NBA player.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like him, but all I'm saying is like we haven't seen
we haven't seen the progression.
Make players better, and that is the mode that the Wizards are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
They finally, after playing the like middle game with Brad Beal for so long, decided that they're going to turn it around and try to rebuild in the way that we've learned as NBA fans works. And I don't know if Wes Unseld Jr. matches that. And I wish it would have been a really cool story if he was that guy, because of his family's history with the team. And it seems like he's moving into a front office role, so he's not leaving the Wizards franchise. But I guess you're happy about this if you're a Wizards fan. There's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I think Wizards fans are like, oh, all right.
And it's always
they're like, all right.
It's always nice to be the first team on the coaching carousel market. So like you got first dibs on the platter.
Yeah, I think the Wizards fans are like, all right, yeah, they're gonna leave for Virginia. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
all is not well in Wizardland.
All is definitely not well. Johnny Davis still is on the roster.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about a team that has a very good coach, the Miami Heat. They traded Kyle Lowry and a protected 2027 first-round pick for Terry Rozier. So, including last night in Rozier's debut, the Heat have quietly lost 4 straight, and they have Rivals Week Celtics tonight. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
You know they're going to come out and just rout the Celtics.
I don't know. So Rozier is averaging 23 points, about 4 rebounds, 6.5 assists. His contract, $23 million this year, about 25 next year, 26.6 the final year, which is partially guaranteed. As a supporter of this organization, I guess you could call me.
I would call you that.
I like the trade only because Lowry was really not giving the Heat a lot. Like he was getting down to averaging 2-3 points a game for at the end of his Heat tenure. And the big problem with Lowry was twofold. Is one, he's very reluctant to shoot. Mm-hmm. And the Heat kind of needed another pressure guy on their offense, because once Hero's off the court, it's okay, who's going to make a shot? And I'm going to get to this later, because everyone listening is like, what about Jimmy? I'm going to talk about Jimmy soon. But Rozier last night's 3 of 11, not a great performance. He's missing a lot of point blank layups. Also, Bam is also missing a lot of Heat players missed a lot of relatively easy shots last night.
I think you can hope for positive regression there.
Yeah, I will. There was a 10-minute sequence between the end of the first and the beginning of the second where the Heat are just missing shot at the rim over and over and over again. Yeah, I mean, I like the trade just because, if the Heat don't do anything and they're just all right, you guys made it to the finals twice, ECF 3 times, you could do it again. That's just not good management. And, Pat Riley, going back to when they had the Big 3 Heat, they won the title. They add Ray Allen. Because what he's learned is, you can't just stand pat. You always have to keep building on the roster.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think from, an asset evaluation, I think it's a really great asset play. This is the Miami Heat. They do not have great first round picks, and it's a wide open East. It's a wide open West, and being able to trade for a guy that's averaging 23 points a game, shooting 35% from 3 on a team like the Hornets, that is just not a place that it's easy to get anything. I think it's a total win. It's pretty interesting with the protections that they put on that pick that they sent out. It kind of hamstrings them of what picks that they can trade going forward, but looking forward to draft day. On draft day, they'll be able to trade their 2030 pick, 2029 pick swap, and their 2024 pick on draft day. So I think that's really enough to get yourself in like a Mitchell conversation or a bigger player conversation going into next season, if that's what they want to do. If you win the championship, maybe you don't have to do that. I think from an offensive perspective, like you said, it's kind of a home run. This is the guy that like he's going to take a lot off Jimmy. He's going to take a lot off like a guy like Tyler Hero. Kyle Lowry was just a non-factor. 6.5 field goal attempts a game. He's not bringing it to the rim at all. Shooting okay from three, 38% from three.
But just not shooting it.
Yeah, just not shooting it at all, which happens. Like very Chris Paul-esque. I think he's a little bit more down the road than Chris. But I am interested. How do you feel about the Hero Rozier defensive backcourt?
I'd be more worried if I hadn't already seen the Hero Duncan court work out well enough for the Heat to get to the finals a couple times. This is what I want to talk about. So the Heat lose 105-96 to Memphis last night. And I'm like, what are we doing? So Jimmy Butler has 10 field goal attempts and he has 8 free throw attempts. So basically Jimmy Butler shot the ball 14 times. I was like, why does Jimmy just not shoot in the regular season? Why does this guy just not shoot? So I was like, is this just me thinking? So I'm looking at his playoff game log, and basically Jimmy Butler goes from almost never shooting over 16 times a game to always shooting over 20 times a game. That's the big adjustment the Heat have made the last 4 postseason runs, is they're just like, Jimmy, shoot more. So Jimmy is still 88th percentile in points per shot attempt. So basically, like, when Jimmy shoots, the team is better. And this is what I'm talking about, where it's like, you're not really taking a load off Jimmy when Jimmy's not doing anything in the regular season when it comes to scoring. So he's at his lowest usage rate with the Heat at 25%. So again, like, he's still a stupidly efficient points per shot attempt because he's shooting better from 3. He's being assisted way more on all of his shots. He's worse at the rim than he's been in a while, but he still gets fouled all the time, and he's shooting 88% at the free throw line. Concerning number, his and one percentage is down 10%.
Ooh, wow.
And his rim numbers are down. So there's a lot of numbers with Jimmy because I've kind of done this thing. There's been this perception that the Heat are just like, they'll wake up in the playoffs, but it's not reality. The first year Jimmy was there, they were good in the regular season. They were good in the playoffs. Second year, they were bad in the regular season. They were bad in the playoffs. Third year, they're the 1 seed in the regular season. They're good in the playoffs. Last year is the only year where the regular season performance didn't match up with the playoff performance. So what I'm wondering, is this another year where the regular season performance might not match up with the playoffs? Because, again, it's one of these things where it's like Jimmy, despite being kind of down efficiency-wise, like last season, he was in the 100th percentile in points per shot attempt. He was literally, if Jimmy Butler shot the ball, it was the greatest thing an NBA team could have happen for them.
Where is he nowadays?
He's 88.
Okay.
So Jimmy's still hyper elite.
Pretty big drop off, though.
But last season, Jimmy Butler shooting it was literally the greatest thing that could happen for a team. So I'm wondering, like, this year, obviously the Heat will dial that back up, but I'm kind of like,
so let me ask you a question.
am I a little worried that all these little numbers, like and one percentage, rim finishing percentage, and like the amount of shots that he's making that are assisted are up? Like, he's a little less self-creaty.
13 seasons in.
Yeah.
A lot of those seasons, he was playing under Tom Thibodeau, which we've seen what that does to players over the course of their careers. Are you at all worried? Like, there's this huge sentiment, like you were talking about, from, I would say, generally all non-Heat fans and a lot of Heat fans, that Jimmy can just reach down into the depths of his Heat culture soul and grab just like this superpower and be this superstar in the playoffs. Are you worried that that might be coming to an end sooner rather than later?
It's kind of what I'm getting at. But I think this year it's going to happen, because I was doing a deep dive into like what really changes. And really the number that changes more than any other number isn't like 3-point percentage. It's FGA. Jimmy just shoots more, and Jimmy, when he shoots, the team is really good. Jimmy, please shoot more, man. Just start shooting.
Look at my guy.
Jimmy,
He's
I want
begging
you to score. Please shoot the ball. You're so good.
You gotta shoot.
I think this is why it's a good trade. I think this might be the last season of, just because this is where I start to get worried when your rim attempts are down, when your rim finishing percentage is down, when a higher percentage of your shots are assisted, to me says like you're a little bit more reliant on teammate creation. And in the playoffs, we know isolation scoring, self-creation is really, really important from your 1A guy. So I'm wondering if the Heat are kind of like, this might be the last really, really good run we have with this group, especially with the way they're kind of performing the regular season. Because last year it was a lot of like, Bam playing, Hero Jimmy out, Hero playing, Jimmy out. But this season, we've lost like 4 straight games where you go to the starting lineup and it's like, oh, there's Bam, there's Hero, there's Jimmy. Like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. And I love the trade too. Like, I think it's really great value for them, like I said. And we haven't even mentioned Terry Rozier still has 2 years on his contract after this. So it's not a rental by any means. What do you think about next moves for the Heat? I know the Caleb Martin contract situation is a little weird. This definitely complicates that. I don't know if the Heat are wanting to be a second apron team, but if you re-sign Caleb Martin to the kind of deal that I think you would get on the open market, that might put you as the Heat in a second apron scenario. What do you view as what? Is there another move that they need to make? Do you think that they should stand pat? What are you thinking?
It's kind of tough because it seems like the NBA world at large is kind of not valuing Hero as much as the Heat do. So there's that disconnect in trade value. But this team is so tough to gauge, right? Because it's like even when they were the 1 seed last year, a lot of people were not. I was personally pretty high on them as a fan. I like their chances to go to the finals. I mean, they were so close. If Jimmy just hits that 1-3, they're in the finals against the Warriors. But like, it's so hard to gauge this team, right? Because they just lost 4 straight. They just lost to an undermanned Memphis team. But it's at the same time, we've seen what they do in the playoffs. So they're just the hardest team to assess.
Yeah, you can't put any reason into what they're doing at all. And actually, I think I did misspeak a little bit. I think this trade actually does put them in the first apron. Mm-hmm. So the interesting wrinkle there is once you're an apron team, you can't do anything on the buyout market other than under the mid-level exception, which I believe is around $12 million. So a guy like Gordon Hayward, who I would think would be a perfect fit for Miami in the past, if he gets bought out, is not someone that you're going to be able to
I'm a little worried too.
pick up.
Even if they were like little redundancy there with Hayward's game and Jame's game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think like one thing for the Heat that's really tough, right, is like Kevin Love's eating a lot of minutes right now. And like Kevin Love gives you spacing. He kind of gives you some like nice post finishing against smaller defenders. He's obviously, horizontally movement.
A little bit of rebounding still.
Yeah, like good outlet, which is good for generating transition on a team that struggles to score. But it's like, I don't know. It's kind of tough because like Love is actually giving this team a lot of things that they kind of need, like that outlet passing. Like we saw that in the playoffs was a huge weapon for this team.
And it gives the Heat the very rare ability to have plus passers at nearly every single position with Bam, Kevin Love, Jaime, Jimmy,
Rozier.
and Rozier.
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like this team is more likely to make another. I think Rozier is a big upgrade over Lowry, but I think like another marginal upgrade, maybe like another power forward they can throw
PJ
into
Tucker
the mix.
on a buyout.
I don't know if-
That's a guy that they could get.
I'm really curious what they're going to look like tonight.
Yeah. Because
Celtics.
they're playing the Celtics tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, that should be a really, really great matchup. I'm trying to think, what else do I want to ask you about the Heat while we're talking about them? Have you had any like just random thoughts recently about how they're looking that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, I mean, the Jimmy thing is my big thing where it's just like, Jimmy, why are you taking 10 field goal attempts? Or I kind of wish there was a stat that showed you actual shot attempts because it's kind of messy when it's like 10 field goal attempts, 8 free throw attempts. It's like, was that 14 shots? Was that 12 shots and 2 and 1s? Like, but like 14 shot attempts for a guy playing 35 minutes a game, who's again one of the most efficient scorers in the league. Like, I guess it's weird that it's like, are they just okay with not having home court? Like, I'm just a little confused with like what the mindset is with the team sometimes.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think that's a reasonable place to be. So let's look at the East just as an entirety. 2 absolutely huge moves have been made in the Eastern Conference, or actually really 3 with the James Harden trade as well. You want to just like Who are our top 3 contenders in the East at this point? I think we're both in agreement in Boston being number 1.
I got Boston 1. I've got Philly 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm there now as well.
Yeah. So big number with Philly. I don't know if it's different from. I don't think they played last night. 26-6 with Embiid. That's a higher winning percentage than the Celtics have.
That is pretty wild. I mean, yeah, dude. You want to talk about Embiid a little bit real quick?
I mean, it happened a while ago. We've kind of glazed Embiid, if you will, on this podcast. It's like a weekly thing now. But the guy's he's the MVP. He's the best player in the league right now. Playing like it, at least. Like, I don't know, man. 70 points for a center. I feel like people don't appreciate how difficult that is for a non-guard to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a guy that's bringing up the ball. And I couldn't help. I just rewatched all the possessions of that game last night. And I can't help but think at this point, and I don't think it's an overreaction, that what Embiid is doing this season is a modern day Wilt Chamberlain
season. He's scoring at a higher rate per minute than Chamberlain did.
And he's such a great comp, like just career-wise for Chamberlain. Chamberlain was constantly running into weird things that was going on in the playoffs. The Boston Celtics dominance and, you know, the Warriors moving and it never quite, I know he won a championship earlier on in his career that Embiid didn't win, but the absolute dominance, the touch around the basket, both of them, the just sheer size and strength that both of them were able to wield, and both of them being in Philly, it's just such a fun, and them having a foil of
the
Bill
Celtics.
Russell and Nikola Jokic, these guys that kind of like, of course, Nikola Jokic's stats.
I feel like
are
Tatum
insane,
is the real foil.
but they like hover over basketball as like, those guys are team guys. They make all of their teammates better in a way that these like Goliaths don't. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I just think it's really
the sim
fun.
narrative. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm down to talk Embiid all day. I love Joel, but we've talked so much, Joel. And the 70 point, it feels like it happened a week ago now. So much has happened this week.
I just feel like I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it's 70 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's especially for a center. I feel like what people really, because I know Wilt has the 100, so I think people think like, oh, it's a big men don't score 70. It's like Joel just did it, David Robinson did it in an effort to try to get the scoring title one year, and like Wilt. Those are like the 3 guys who've done it. All the other players who did it are guards.
And in really our lifetime, it's exclusively been guards.
Yeah.
We had the Book one, of course. We had the Kobe 81, and
Mitchell.
then Mitchell and Lillard. And it's a lot easier when you can jack up threes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think I still had been discounting, I think, this 76ers team, and
It feels like they need one more guy who can handle the ball.
Yes.
Like I'm just worried in a Celtics series if it's going to be a little too like Maxey Embiid-ish. Like, because like that's how it kind of felt last year, even with Maxey and Harden, was they went kind of to like Harden and Embiid ball, and Maxey, you can shoot it, but you don't really get to handle it that much.
I mean, I will say Harden won them two of
the games.
2 of those games in a real way that I don't know how they replace that just like having the roll of the dice of a dude that can just go out there and win you a playoff
But the good
game.
thing for the Sixers was Maxey proved he can play in the playoffs well last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think as a Heat fan, I would rather see the Bucks.
You would rather? Oh, I mean, they just fired their coach.
They just fired their coach. But it's also just like one of those things where it's like, if Embiid is healthy, like that's the kind of player the Heat struggle to guard. Like that season they went to the final against the Lakers, that whole regular season, or not the whole, they played twice, but like both of those regular season games, like Anthony Davis was just dominant against us. And I was like when they played in the finals, I was like, I just don't see how the Heat are going to answer the Anthony Davis problem. And it's the same thing that happened when they played the Nuggets, where I was like, I don't see how we answer the Jokic problem. And
Yeah.
I know we beat the Sixers 2 years ago, but like Embiid's coming off a fractured face.
Completely different series.
Harden versus Jimmy. Can you name like another player that if I have like Jimmy Butler, I'm like, oh, I'm going to own that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Jimmy going very aggro against Damian Lillard. Like you said, it's the Bucks Sixers matchup is a very weird matchup. But okay, so we've got Boston, we've got Philly. We're both with that. Who do you have third as far as championship equity in the Eastern Conference?
Dude, it's so hard to pick between the Heat and the Bucks because it's like my heart and my like, okay, I just know the Heat are going to beat them if they play. I'm going to go with the Heat. Fuck it. I don't care that they're 6 right now. Like, I don't fear the Bucks at all as a Heat fan. Like, I don't know. It just feels like we have their number.
Yeah, I'm going with Milwaukee. I agree with you about that matchup in particular. The Milwaukee-Miami matchup, I think that is like a total upset waiting to happen. The Damian Lillard addition makes it even more of a bad matchup for them. But I think if they miss each other in the playoffs, like it's kind of weird that they've played so many times as it is. I like Milwaukee against the field better than Miami against the field. Last year was a little bit of a weird run. Like they destroyed Milwaukee. Let me just say this.
Milwaukee.
They destroyed Milwaukee, but it was weird. Middleton wasn't Middleton. Giannis missed a couple, wasn't really the guy that we've known him to be. They played against a Knicks team that really wasn't ready. I think that they were a couple pieces short, and that was still a longer series. And then I don't even know what to talk about.
Game 7.
Yeah, they could have easily lost that game 7 if Tatum wasn't hurt. I don't want to take anything away from them because that playoff run is a run that, in my opinion, makes Jimmy a Hall of Fame lock if he wasn't already. But that's kind of why I'm leaning Milwaukee, but I would go Miami for.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, put them at a tie.
Yeah.
I don't want to just like give the Heat the like benefit of the doubt because they've done it last year because every year is its own year. But it's just, I don't know. It's just like they have this really simple switch, which is just double Jimmy's FGA.
Yeah,
it seems to make the team go way better.
The course of these teams are roughly the same other than Dame.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the same 4. Who do you have as, we'll stop it at 5, but I want to know who do you have as your 5th best contender in the Eastern Conference?
So it's the Knicks, Cavs, or Pacers?
Knicks, Cavs, or Pacers?
Like, I want to say the Cavs, but just seeing what the Knicks did to them last year and seeing that I think the Knicks are even better this year, I got to go with the Knicks.
I'm right there with you. I love what the Knicks have done this year, and I think I really, really think they're going to end up being the Bruce Brown team. It just contractually, it's a really easy trade to make happen. And I think they might be even deeper than the Celtics. Not as far as top end talent, but just talent as a whole. I love what they got going over there in New York.
I do want to say, though, I could see the Cavs beating them. There's a world where Donovan Mitchell is just I still think Mitchell's better than Brunson personally. Like, I think Mitchell's very slept on. Like,
I'm with you, dude.
I could see a world where Mitchell just kind of goes ballistic because he's done it in the playoffs before. This isn't like a thing that has never happened.
My thing with the Cavs is we have yet to see their 2 backcourt stars and their 2 frontcourt stars work together in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yeah.
And
but it's such a small sample size.
We've kind of seen it in the regular season, but like when you think about the fit of 2 small guards and the fit of 2 bigs that can't shoot,
yeah.
Like any other team, if you take the names away from everybody, you're like an NBA like super fan is gonna think like, yeah, that's probably not gonna work. The fit in both places is weird. So I definitely will favor the Knicks over the Cavs for that reason, but the Cavs have the best player.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are a better overall team. I think they're even better than they were last year with the OG trade. But man, Cavs are hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10.
They are. Mitchell. They were dead to rights. We were ready. I had Donovan Mitchell traded 17 times already.
Oh man! All right. I guess the final thing that happened this week, and it feels like it happened so long ago because they've since beaten the Hornets. The Wolves.
Okay, you got to mic up. You got to mic up, Max.
Max, how are we? What's the Wolves' temperature
our resident
right now?
Timberwolves fan?
Yeah. So obviously that 62-point game was rough. I actually didn't watch it live, but I was just following it like as I was doing other stuff. As Chris Finch himself said, terrible, disgusting defense. At a certain point, it became clear they were just letting Cat hunt shots and not fucking getting back in transition at all. Terrible defense. They did it to themselves. Obviously, also, important context is Ant was sick that game, so that's why his stat line was like 9-3 or something. Like, it was terrible. Yeah, it was really depressing. It feels like a lot of teams, like the Thunder, are getting super hot right now, whereas the Wolves are just like...
So the Thunder are the 1 seed now. They've overtaken you guys. You have the same record, but I think they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, no, I saw a graphic on Instagram the other day that said OKC takes the 1 seed, and I'm like, well... I mean, technically it's the same record as the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets are a half game back as well. Yeah. It's virtually a 3-way tie atop the Western Conference right now.
It was super depressing. And then I should say that yesterday I watched the Wizards game, and they barely beat the Wizards, bro. Like, there was several points in the game where the Wizards were up by like 6. And I was just like, what is going on? I don't know.
Maturity is definitely at this point, it's a fair red flag to have with this Timberwolves team.
That's what Rudy said. He was like, a more mature team would have like also played defense. Or sorry, a more mature team would have also played defense.
Okay. You know what, though? For as immature as the team was, I saw this man, Rudy Gobert, drop an uncontested offensive rebound, which prompted me to text our Foul Trouble group chat. Rudy Gobert sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. When you're a center who can't catch, how a long time ago I had a New Year's resolution? I was like, I want to have an NBA project. I forgot one that I had actually thought of. The effect of a bad offensive center on your transition defense. Because if your center can't catch or finish at the rim for whatever reason, and he's now at their rim while their team is running, that has to hurt your defense. Rudy Gobert, secretly bad defensive player.
Okay.
No, I am not kidding. That man is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award.
I will say he looked very tired that game. I think that what you saw as a casual Timberwolves was Rudy being tired. The Frenchman had a little bit too much escargot before the game, and he was sleepy. Too much garlic and butter sauce.
This is too much. It's too much escargot. But you got to be worried. Like, when the Timberwolves are at their best, they are an aggressive, defensive-minded team.
Yeah.
And when the playoffs are going on and it's so intense and you're trying to be super aggressive, that's when you need to be a super, super mature team. I think to like 2008 Celtics, how they were such an intense defensive team led by Kevin Garnett and Rajon Rondo, and they were able to control that because they were such a veteran-laden team.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get worried that I think they're a great regular season team, just flat out. But I am starting to get worried that once this season gets more and more tense, when seeding is more top of mind, this is a really close, like 1 through 6 for the most part.
Are you ready? I'm about to tell you the final 4 standings for the West.
All right, give it to me.
I just came from the future. Here. It's going to be Nuggets 1, Thunder 2, Clippers 3, Wolves 4. And then we're going to get Suns, Timberwolves in the first round.
Wait, say that one more time, direct to camera.
We're going to get, are you ready? This is my prediction
from the future.
January 25th. This is from the future. Nuggets 1, Thunder 2, Clippers 3, Wolves 4. That's going to be the order. And we're going to get Timberwolves Suns in the first round.
Oh my God.
That's a Jiedel lock.
Inject that into my veins. But there's only one problem with that. Is the Suns are never going to lose another game. They're on a 7-game winning streak. They're never going to lose another game.
I will also say, I think Mike Conley was terrible in that game against the Hornets, and I think that is just they are showing their flaw right now, and it is Mike Conley. And I like Mike Conley. Sometimes he looks like God, but the man is old, and
he's the adult in the room, the non-French adult in the room.
Yeah, and like if he doesn't have a good game, then they are not looking good.
This is why I threw that DeJounte Murray trade at you, but I don't think DeJounte Murray would fix the not attitude. What is the word that we've been using this whole time? Maturity problem.
Yeah,
I will say this for the Wolves though. I know it's the Wizards, and I know they didn't beat them by a lot, But I do like that they won their next game.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Just don't look at Cat's stat line.
Oh, I know Cat was bad. I did look at Cat's stat line, but I think like for someone like Edwards, I'm a little surprised that we had you said he was sick, but I'm surprised we even had an Edwards game where they're thinking about running up Cat's points to one up Joel Embiid, which is like a weird old beef that I thought was squashed, but I'm all for it coming back.
All the big men, they keep their beef.
Yeah.
I feel like Ant, though, clearly is not the most mature guy from everything we've seen from him on social media, but it seems like really does care about winning. So
Yes.
I could see that being more of a big learning moment from him, and then instead of being something there, he's like, "Oh, I don't like my coach calling us out." He kind of does seem like the kind of player that appreciates a coach like Chris Finch calling out the whole team. So, in terms of like fork in the road, does this crush the team or kind of galvanize the team? I think this could be kind of a galvanizing moment. And even though I do think they're going to drop to 4 in the standings, that's really more a result of like they were playing like 900 basketball for like the first month and a half of the season.
And the West
That's just
is
hard to maintain.
just is filled with absolute monsters, including the Timberwolves.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem is they looked at their schedule for the week and they were like, "Oh, we're playing the fucking Hornets and the Wizards. Like, let's just chill. This is a coast week."
Yeah.
And then they just took their foot off. the
They
gas.
didn't have anything to get fired up about until they saw the 70-point effort by Embiid.
Yeah. I guess one quick note from that game, non-Timberwolves related, man, Brandon Miller looks good.
I like Brandon Miller.
Hornets, good on you, Hornets. Everyone made fun of them for not picking Scoot. Like, Miller looks like he's going to be a good like wing player who can score in isolation for a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always felt about the Hornets' future is like I think Miller can play really anywhere 2, 3, 4, and a jumbo backcourt of LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, bearing that it's healthy, I think it's a super attractive place to start in a rebuild, which it seems like the Hornets are finally doing in a real way.
Also, I wanted to say earlier, Rozier in a Heat jersey is kind of sick.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry in a Hornets jersey, sad.
It's so Tony Parker.
For some reason, the most sad, like, aging veteran in a random team's uniform jersey for me will always be Olajuwon in a Raptors jersey.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, Jordan as a Wizard was putting up, like, 20. It's kind of badass. He's like, fuck it, I'll be a player again. I won't even be the GM. But, like, Olajuwon in a Raptors jersey, especially when they're wearing those goofy purple ones, is like, dude, what happened to you, man?
Patrick
You're-
Ewing in the Sonics or Magic jerseys.
That's a sad one, too.
That hurts my heart. That man should
R.I.P. Lowry, man. We're putting him out to pasture, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably done
Yeah.
for Lowry. But you know where I could see him going if he's bought out? I could so see him going to the Lakers. Like,
hot take. I think the Hornets should keep him.
I don't hate
think
that.
LaMelo Ball needs somebody like that in his life for the next 6 months to be like, dude,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man? You guys are 10 and whatever. Like, if
He's
you're
honestly perfect.
if you're
backcourt
that
mate.
guy, LaMelo, like, you're 10 and 32. This roster's honestly to start the season, like, not that much. Like, if LaMelo's as good as he's supposed to be, like, this team should be better than 10 and 32.
I mean, he's missed so much time this year with, I think it was an ankle injury. He's missed like 25 games or something. But yeah, like I was wondering, there's been a lot of like Kyle Lowry's just going to get bought out. Gordon Hayward's going to get bought out. Is the new Hornets ownership really going to just come in and eat $60 million just off rip?
It's a good question.
Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Even the Lakers last year were like, yeah, we can't just eat Russell Westbrook's $40 million. Which I get they kind of had to trade it, and there's a lot of stuff that was going into it. But the Hornets organization is not printing the kind of money that the Lakers are making with LeBron James.
Especially
Yeah.
since MJ is out of the picture now, right?
Yeah, he's a minority
phasing
owner
out.
now.
Okay.
He's a $3 billion man who does not want to pay that.
Yeah. But honestly, that's probably for the better. Hot streak shooting slump?
Hot streak shooting slump.
Where do we want to start?
All right. So, your boy, I'm on a hot streak.
My God.
I have not had a shooting slump this year. Tuesday, put out my new video on the Jiedel main channel, and it was my best performing video in like 7-8 months on the first day. So really, really, really good. I had some great sushi for my dad's birthday. The football game. It's weird we do hot streak shooting slump now on a Thursday. It's all misaligned because now we're going all the way back to last Sunday. But
the week is just a human construct.
Just a great weekend of football. Honestly, a great fun weekend of basketball. I had a lot of fun. The day the Timberwolves collapsed, our group chat was going crazy. The Embiid 70 point. Then the wait a second cat has 60 points. Wait a second cat got benched was a really fun day to follow.
That was a very live day.
I had a hint of a shooting slump though. I had to bring it up because I feel like LAX, man. Ooh. I'm picking up my boy Ian from LAX, and like it's just so for those of you who've never been to LAX, it's basically like a big loop, and then all of the 7 terminals are on this loop, and they're adding another terminal that's going to be a shuttle away. And then, like 2 years ago, they moved the Ubers away from everything. And I swear, Patrick, I don't know how you feel. Do you feel like since they added the Uber area, the traffic's been like 1,000 times worse?
No. I actually, I
don't know if it's
I
like
feel like it's
anecdotal.
roughly the same, to be honest.
LAX on a weekday night, it takes almost 40 minutes to get through the loop.
Yeah.
It is insane how bad the traffic is at LAX airport compared to like every other airport.
Yeah, it's really rough, especially at nights or like hot travel days as well.
It's to the point where I feel like if the next LA politician who runs on we're going to build an airport outside downtown LA, I feel like should instantly win, regardless of party or any other policy they have.
I'm really interested to see how the train that they're connecting for like the Olympics and everything is going to affect what that is like. Because hypothetically, people can just jump on that like train and get right out of there. So that'll be nice.
I'm a big fan of trains and subways, the East Coast and me. Dude, so LA, there's a map. They actually have a map. It's like which train and subway metro lines they'll have built by each year. So it's like this is what pisses me off as a metro enjoyer. This plan goes till 2060. So it's like 50% of it's supposed to be done by 2028 in time for the Olympics. And then the last 50% is drawn out over like 30 years.
Odds that never happens.
And then also, here's the other big bugaboo as a very selfish, but the part of the city I used to live in / want to move back to, West Hollywood, it doesn't get their metro line till 2052.
I know, that is crazy.
Mind you, this is a part of the city that isn't near any freeway. It needs the metro line more than almost any other part of the city.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And let alone, you're bringing up all of the like feasible stuff. There's so many bars down there.
Yeah.
No,
but public safety.
Just go straight there.
Public safety wise, it's like literally one of the most popular areas in the city for nightlife. Public safety wise, it should be one of the first areas to get the metro line.
Also, I will say like it's the part of LA that is most similar to like Manhattan in terms of like density of restaurants and bars and like walkable spaces.
Yeah.
Like it makes the most sense to have subway stops be there.
Yeah.
And there are none.
It blows my mind.
It's Big Tire. I'm telling you guys, it's Big Tire. They're stamping out all the metro. They're stretching it out to be 60 years from now. We'll have a workable metro. Big Tire needs to slow down and stop taking over LA.
Goodyear is so pissed right now. They're never going to sponsor this podcast.
Damn it, we were so close.
Sorry, guys.
We were so close to that Goodyear sponsorship.
I fumbled the bag.
But yeah, I had a hot streak. Just LAX. It's worth bringing up. It tempered the hot streak. I went from having a 70-point game to a 62-point game.
Okay, that's still pretty good. That's still pretty good. Yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a 70-point game while losing.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, me, I had a hot streak.
Let's go.
Did we know that?
I had a hot streak.
I don't know if we knew that.
And here's the reason why you knew that.
Because of KD?
52, 40,
Ooh.
43,
Ooh.
46,
Ooh.
52 from Booker against the Pelicans, 40 from Durant against the Pacers, 43 from Durant on a back-to-back against the Bulls, and a 20-point comeback. And then last night, I finally got my sweet, sweet revenge against the Dallas Mavericks and that whiny-ass European jumbo guard, Luka Doncic. Oh, my God. It was just so nice to see them fumble like a 15-point lead and him to just start crying over and over and over again while Devin Booker scorched him alive. Oh my God. Not to mention it was my birthday on Saturday. That was pretty nice as well. Yeah, I've had a great week. I'm going to Arizona straight from here to my cousin Joe's wedding. Very excited for that. Shout out Joe. I don't know. I'm loving life.
Max, I have to tell you something about the Patrick family. I get to Patrick's birthday. Patrick's brother, Patrick's sister, Patrick's girlfriend, Patrick's brother's girlfriend. They're all wearing like Phoenix Suns starter jackets. Phoenix Suns gear.
Was there like a discount if you bought 5 of them?
What? You guys were decked the fuck out in Suns gear. It was so
In our defense, on the little poster that I made for my birthday celebration, I'm a twin for those of you that don't know, for me and Thomas's birthday celebration, it said, wear your favorite sports gear. So what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to wear my beautiful
Cardinals?
Devin Booker
Hey, shout out
sunburst.
Shout out to your other brother who wore a Dwayne Wade jersey.
That's true. Matthew did come through with
out
the
to
Dwayne
Matthew.
Wade jersey. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I got.
That's cute. I like it. What were you gonna say, James?
No, it's just I was.
You would
oh my
expect
God.
nothing less.
No, I wouldn't. I'm sad I missed the memo. I don't know how I didn't read that. But how was your week, Max?
I'm gonna say I know that the point of this segment is you're supposed to have like a good or a bad week, but I kind of like the hot slump. I kind of like the halfway.
Oh, I like that. Let's change up.
Yeah, so like I've been really productive creatively. I've been like writing the script that I've been working on for a while, like churning out pages.
Hell
so that's
yeah.
kinda sick. I've been reading more. Like I'm reading 30 pages a day because I said I'm tired of being an illiterate fuck and I want to like actually read books. Because I have all these books just like
Could not be me. Could not be me.
I got all these dusty ass books on my shelf that I just need to like start going through. Yeah, I'm blowing dust off left and right. But on the other hand, the sleep has not been top notch. Been waking up in the middle of the night for no reason. And sometimes it's just like I have to pee, and I'm like, what am I, 500 years old? Yeah, and then the weather. It's kind of getting to me. I think I'm finally over the rainy, gloomy.
The gloom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you guys feel like this is a weird thing with me? I feel like I'm more productive when I get good sleep, but I feel like I'm more creative when I get bad sleep. I don't know if it's like delirium or what.
Like the sleep deprivation gets you into like this weird like creative headspace.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know.
You're just
I
kind
feel
of
like,
wired.
Like what time do you go to bed usually?
I mean, it depends. I like to be asleep by like 11:30. I think is the goal.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I feel like
I like that. That's a good idea.
when I used to stay up till 2 a.m, though, I felt like I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm definitely more productive when I'm awake longer. Just the more hours that I can just grind. I feel like I produce more. Definitely not healthy though. I definitely get sick when I stay up. That's what I've recently found out. I'm not built like I used to be. I can't just like
Dude, I have
go to sleep at 2 a.m. and wake up at 6.
Yeah, you're
I
a
have-
little crusty.
I have a hot take, man.
Okay, I'm ready.
I hate sleeping.
Oh,
Wow, that is a hot take.
I like being awake. When you're
Normalize liking being awake. I'm with you, dude.
I get my 8 hours. I've read so much on the importance of sleep and sleep quality, so like I value it because it's important. But I wish Mother Nature. I wish it wasn't good to sleep.
Yeah.
wow.
We got any nappers in the room?
I'm not a nap.
I'm not a
guy.
napper.
No,
I
I
can't
don't
nap.
take naps. Ever since Drake told me he didn't do it, I stopped doing it.
I will do anything Drake says. Absolutely.
You just have this like binder where you've written down everything Drake says that you can and can't do. You just live and die by the rules of Drake.
The Heat play the Raptors in a playoff series. I just start sweating balls.
What do I do?
What do I do? All right, we can call the episode there.
I'm Patrick, and this is James.
This is Max.
Yo, what's up?
Thank you guys for watching the Foul Trouble Podcast. We are going to be virtual the next week as Patrick is taking a trip to Cleveland to hang out with the Cavaliers.
I'm coming for you, Donovan.
And I'm headed to Miami to take a trip with the Miami Heat.
To see Heat Suns live.
I am going to see Heat Suns live. Patrick and I will put something on the game. So we'll get a nice behind the scenes of Cavs and Miami World on the next maybe episode or the one after that. Schedule might be a little bit different. We might be on I think we're posting Friday and Monday next week, but we'll let you guys know and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.